Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now, before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions, as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey. Hi everyone, hope you're well. My name is Chris Cowlin and this is another episode of the Spurs Chat Podcast. Now, we're live on Facebook, we're live on X and YouTube. Please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan, and let us know what you made of today's game. Of course, Spurs lost again at home. Boos at the final whistle. Tottenham Hotspur 0, Nottingham Forest 3. Spurs are the only team at the moment in the Premier League without a win in 2026. Tottenham's next game in the Premier League is now 3 weeks away after the international break. We will be away at Sunderland on the 12th of April. Tottenham are just 1 place and 1 point above the relegation zone. We have slipped down to 17th. Tottenham are winless in 13 top flight games. This is our worst run since 1935. Igor Tudor has guided Spurs just 1 point, that point against Liverpool in the Premier League, out of a possible 15 in the 5 games that he has managed in the Premier League for Spurs. Igor Tudor at the final whistle bolted down the tunnel, so did many players. And from what I understand, Bruno Salter, his assistant manager, did the press conference today due to personal reasons. Now, I'm going to say a quick hello to all of the channel regulars, and then we'll get straight into it. Craig Dearman's back with us. Craig, how are you?
Yeah, bloody marvellous. It's actually Spurs' worst run since compulsory driving tests came into the UK. So make of that what you will.
We'll get into it, Craig. Back with us also is Ricky Norwood, who has just got home from the ground. Rick, how are you?
Fuming, bruv. Fuming. But, yeah, we'll get in with it with the boys and all you beautiful people around the world. So, yeah, let's jump in, bro.
Also back with us is Terry Kim, all the way from New York. Terry, how are you?
Just profoundly sad. It's, I mean, my heart goes out to Igor Tudor for his loss, whatever that is. It made me kind of think of Tottenham, in that supporting Tottenham kind of feels like we care for a close relative who is really ill or even terminally ill, and the doctor just says, and we all just say, if you just fight, you can get through this, and they just refuse to fight. So it's just heartbroken at the moment.
Right, let's get into it. Tottenham Hotspur 0, Nottingham Forest 3. Forest got their first goal just before the half-time break. And then they doubled their lead on 62 minutes, and then they made it 3-0 after 87 minutes. As I mentioned there, Spurs are down to 17th. Nottingham Forest go up to 16th. Forest now have 32 points. They are 3 points above the relegation zone. They've played 31 games. Spurs have also played 31 games. We have 30 points. And West Ham today lost 2-0 away at Aston Villa. Thank God for that. They remain 18th, 29 points. However, Spurs could go in the bottom 3, because when we return to action on the 12th of April, West Ham actually host Wolves on Friday, the 10th of April. So Spurs, if West Ham win, Spurs could actually go into the bottom 3 going into that Sunderland game. Now, the match facts and stats today against Forest: Spurs had 58.3% of the ball. Forest had 41.7%. XG, Spurs 1.14 to Nottingham Forest 1.48. Shots, Spurs had 14, Forest had 8. Shots on target, Spurs had 3, Forest had 7. Total touches inside the opposition box, Spurs had 26, Forest 16. Goalkeeper saves, Spurs 4, Forest 3. Aerial duels 1, Spurs 26, Forest 18. Fouls committed 13 apiece, and corners, Spurs had 13 to Forest 3. Craig, I want to come to you first. And before I get your thoughts on the actual game itself, we'll talk about that in a second. I just want to get your thoughts because you messaged me as I was waiting for the team bus, as thousands of Spurs fans were outside the stadium. You messaged me and said, wow, this is incredible. Now, the scenes I'm about to play now on YouTube and Facebook and on X. If you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do go over to the YouTube channel and look at these images because honestly, the scenes before a ball was even kicked, this was the scenes of the coach actually pulling up and pulling into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I tell you what, the fans certainly did their job today. Craig, what did you make of this?
It was akin to the parade. Really reminded me of the parade we were at 8-9 months ago, and that should have given the squad a lift. Seeing thousands of Spurs fans arriving mega early before the game to just cheer the squad through the streets and show them we were behind them. I thought it was phenomenal. Lovely day as well, which obviously helped, but you know, the show of support from the fans, trying to get everyone together. It was great to see. The fans certainly did their bit today. It's just a shame the team didn't. It was almost like a cup final atmosphere, wasn't it? And it, you know, that's how the game. That's how we all saw it, really. But just sadly, Forest wanted it more, didn't they? You can see there in the pictures that, you know, the fans following the coach round, probably that's down past the Sainsbury's, isn't it? So, yeah, just phenomenal atmosphere before the game. It really came across just watching the videos, just how much the fans were behind the team today. And it just didn't play out like we wanted it to. The result didn't go our way, and it made it all look a bit it leaves a sour taste, doesn't it? It's like, why bother? Because the fans did their bit, but the players didn't.
Ricky, I know you tried to make this get-together, but of course you had train issues today arriving at the stadium, so you arrived a little bit later. But when you see those images there, when you see those videos, and when you see the smiles on people's faces, because everyone I spoke to today pre-match, everyone thought we were going to win. Everyone was really up for this game from a fan's point of view. What do you make of those videos there, and what have you made of the way that the fans have really supported the club today?
The fans are unbelievable, mate. The fans are absolutely unbelievable. To do what they've done, you know, to create that atmosphere, to bring them in like heroes, to cheer them on, to give them that boost. Absolutely phenomenal. And then to take it into the stadium as well. You know, inside the stadium, as soon as the boys came out, the fans were up on their feet. Everybody was cheering them on. We was trying to pick them up. We was trying to let them know that we're behind them. And to get that pathetic response today is it is heartbreaking. To take from what Terry was saying there, you know, all they've got to do is fight to get through this. And you know what? It's got to the point where I think the doctor's calling it, mate. I think they're pulling the plug because absolutely, I can't believe that, man. After all of that, that, you know what, they if they wasn't embarrassed already, that I'm talking about the whole club, players, staff, board, the lot. If they wasn't embarrassed already, they should be today. Because my goodness, every single time it's come up to a point where we need to win a game. We can't put it together, man. We cannot put it together. And it let all of these people, everyone going home tonight is gut punched, mate, is heartbroken. And even when I was, because I had to walk up to get out today, I had to walk up to Seven Sisters. And I can't believe it, if I'm honest, but a brazen, very, very brazen young dude on a line bike rides through on that same street and is singing Tottenham Get Battered. I was like, wow, wowza. If we didn't all have it enough, you know what I mean? Talk about rub salt in the wounds. You're rubbing salt, vinegar, lemon, and hot chili pepper sauce, bruv, as well. Like, ridiculous, mate, ridiculous. I think the fans have been amazing this whole season. They've been called toxic. They've been called a lot of different things. There's been a lot of back and forth with the managers and the players, but we've held them to account. We've tried to raise the standard. We've tried to let them know throughout the season that certain things wasn't good enough. But when it comes down to coming together, when it comes down to standing together, to making a move, the Tottenham fans are absolutely class. You know, when it comes down to doing something like that, and everybody turned up today, you know, everybody was there, waving the flags, the flares, the lot. I honestly, I don't know what to say, mate. Pathetic comes to mind. Disgusted comes to mind. Totally, utterly let down comes to mind, bro. But that's Tottenham. That's the Tottenham we've got this year, man.
Terry, before we talk about the game itself, you know, the video that I played there, honestly, being in that, it was quite incredible. And like Craig mentioned there, it was like the Europa League parade again. And you know, the players needed supporting today, and the fans really did offer that support today, in their thousands, as you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was goosebumps from here all the way over here in the US. I can't even imagine what it was like being there, seeing that, feeling that. You've got to think that the players felt that as they were on that bus coming through. It's again, how can you not get up for something like that? How can they not push you to fight and fight and fight? And I feel like they did as well in that first half. Craig, you said that backstage that you felt like we were reasonable in the first half. I think we were better than reasonable. I think we were on the borderline of playing really well, really fantastic, and we were in control of that game. But it's just the club that it's so easy to break this group. It just takes one incident. I mean, we had 8 corners before Forest had their first corner, leading to that first goal, and then you can see the will to fight to just completely shatter at that point, and then to come out like that in the second half after a first half where both offensively we were creating chances and defensively, you know, we were pressing, we were winning the ball back. Much of the game was played in Forest's half. Like to come out like that flat and just not give a damn in that second half. It's unexcusable. I don't know how you can be in an environment like that and not want to fight, not want to push through and give the effort.
Yeah, I also said before we went live that you know, I feel like we've recorded this podcast a fair few times, particularly this season, and yeah, we're just replacing the team name of yet another defeat. But I tell you what, when you look at the Premier League table and you look at what position that Spurs are in right now, and particularly what I mentioned at the very start, that Spurs could actually be in the bottom 3 if West Ham beat Wolves on that Friday in 3 weeks' time. You know, going into that Sunderland game, and I might add that Sunderland, you know, got a last-minute winner against Newcastle today, and they've had a pretty decent season. Craig, let's come to you. Let's go to the game itself. Give me your thoughts and an overall assessment of what you saw today.
Yeah, I mean, Terry hinted at it there, what I said. I thought the first half was reasonable, didn't have much cutting edge, though. I don't think that it was just the final ball in that first half. If it had been better, if we could have been able to nick a goal, then I think it might have been different, but we just couldn't. It just felt, it was weird. I just said, even though we had bundles of possession and Forest were defending well, I just didn't feel that we were going to score. It wasn't going to be an easy game to score in, and you're going to get that against Forest. And ultimately conceding 6 against Forest across the season, you know, out of all the goals they've scored this season, we've given them 20% of them over 2 games. It's just shameful. And the second half, Christ almighty, how bad was that? It was just so bad. I thought the substitutions were wrong. I thought Tudor got it wrong in the second half. I don't think Udogie had the impact that they wanted him to. Gray was less influential in that second half. I thought he was running the midfield again in that first half. Thought he was really good, Archie Gray, in the first half. Tell obviously got injured. He was the player with the most attacking intent. Thought he was good in the first half. But again, it's the final ball. Richarlison quiet today. Solanke quiet today. there just wasn't enough. I thought it was odd that he didn't play Javi after his performance in the week. I can talk about performances of individual players, but I think the team set up. I quite like the 4-4-2. I quite like Mickey van der Ven at left back. I wanted him to bomb forward a bit more, but that didn't happen. I thought Porro was a bit quiet. I thought he looked a little bit lost, funny enough, a bit higher up the pitch. It's like he didn't know where he needed to be, which was surprising. But like I say, the first half was not too bad. Second half was just abysmal. But, this is all coming back. I'm sorry, I'm going to have a bit of a rant now, but this is all coming back on ENIC for me. You can say, yes, the players haven't been good enough all season, but ENIC have, for more than 2 decades, us as Spurs fans, we've been sold this vision, a promise of progress, the ambition, glory, and instead, what we've received under ENIC's ownership is like a masterclass in just stagnation, and we get lied to sort of like every single season, and a lot of us fall for it, me included. They didn't inherit a giant when they bought the club. They helped build one, or what should have been one, and the club obviously moved to this world-class stadium, bringing in global profile, world-class money coming with it, commercial powerhouse, all that stuff with the concerts and everything else that comes with it. But obviously, I've said before, football ain't played on balance sheets, and the success isn't measured against how much money you bring in. It's measured on the trophies. Obviously, we've only won one League Cup and, of course, the Europa League last season. But apart from that, it's pretty damning. So since they took over, it's just not been good enough, and we all know that, right? Clubs with less resources and smaller global footprints, I suppose, than Tottenham, they've found ways to win more things, and Spurs have found ways to justify not doing it. And the pattern is so familiar to us all now. We're kind of all numb to it, and it's just been the same over and over again. A promising squad is assembled, momentum build, we all get excited, the hope returns, then comes the hesitation, key moments in a transfer market go by without decisive actions. We've seen that many, many times. Managers are backed, but not quite enough, as we've all said. We're always 2 or 3 players short. The final step, the one that separates us from actually being contenders for anything, is consistently and constantly avoided. It's almost as though their ambition carries too great a financial risk. And that's the key thing for all us Spurs fans. It's not bad luck. It's almost like it's their policy. And supporters, all of us, have watched elite managers come and go. Each one of them goes down the same road and sees the same shortcomings. The club flirts with success. Yeah, we got it last year, but then it kind of, at that point when you should push on, they recoil almost, and the investment is almost calculated, it's cautious, and it's always insufficient. And this cycle that we're in, it's a cycle of near misses, resets, fans expected to buy into this narrative each time that next season and next time will be different, and it never, ever, ever is. And what makes the situation more galling is the disconnect between the club's rhetoric and its reality. The Spurs market themselves and ourselves as this elite club, yet they operate completely differently, with almost the mentality of a mid-table side that are afraid to take these risks that we should be taking and getting these players in. We nearly bought Semenyo, we nearly did this, nearly did that. And the stadium that we all love is a symbol of what the club should be bold, world-leading, but the football operation feels like an afterthought. It just feels like an afterthought in comparison to everything else. And fans aren't falling for this anymore, and they haven't been for years. And I'm just fed up with it. We want to see courage, a genuine desire to compete. And this gamble that they've took in the transfer market, and the gamble they took of not sacking Frank when they should have sacked him, it's going to come back to bite them on the arse. I'm so scared that it's going to come back to bite them on the arse this season, because that is the ultimate failure. And instead, we're going to be left with a sense that success on the pitch is optional. It's not bloody optional. as long as the business is okay to thrive. Well, guess what? If we go down, he's not going to thrive anymore. It's going to be completely different. And Enoch will point to the financial stability and the infrastructure and all that. That's going to be gone if we're relegated. So just to sum up, and I'm sorry I banged on, but I had to get it off my chest. Spurs should exist to win football matches and lift trophies. That's the ultimate thing, and that's the standard by which you should be judged, and by which the ownership should be judged as well. And they have failed miserably, and they've fallen short massively. And after all the years of ownership, the patience is no longer a virtue; it's actually a burden, to be honest with you. So, Enoch, you've let us down badly. Sorry.
Craig, can I ask, Igor Tudor, 1 point out of a possible 15. Where do you stand on Igor Tudor right now?
God, I mean, the poor bloke's just had a death in the family, an immediate family member, by the sound of it, is what we're hearing. So it's not exactly a great day. Josh said in the group, he's like, I don't think that any change of manager now would mean anything. I'm kind of a bit different. I think it could. I mean, we're also down at the moment. 1 point, as you say, from 15. It's just not good enough. Is it going to continue? Is it going to matter if we change the manager now? I don't have an answer for you, Chris, on that. I really don't. But I could see him making a change and just having one throw the dice, because at the moment, I can't actually see us getting any more points. And West Ham need to win 2 games, I would say, because I can't see us winning 2. I can't see us winning 1 at the moment. So it seems, look, it's still slight silver lining. It still is between us, West Ham, Forest and Leeds, 100%, because it can move. So, 1 win and you're up there, the rest of the 3 lose and you're down again. They're down again. But do you change the manager? I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
I suppose the question should be, is that, do you think we're going to win more points with Igor Tudor or without? Or with somebody else? Because when you think 1 point in 5, and when you think those games that we've played in the Premier League, yes, I know that we've had a very positive week, and that point at Liverpool, was very positive, and we've had a very positive result and performance on Wednesday in the Champions League. But in the Premier League, 1 point in 15, given the league position where we are, and I'll say it again, Spurs could be in the relegation zone when we are playing our next Premier League game in 3 weeks. If people don't feel that this is real now, and some people are being super positive, saying that Spurs are going to be a Premier League team next season, I think that it will become very, very real if Spurs are sitting in the bottom 3 for at least 48 hours before we play.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer to it. I mean, I don't see what you could lose. We're not inside the club. I don't know. It certainly looked over the last 2 games that Tudor hadn't lost the players, that the players were still playing for him. I think he's made some weird decisions, to be honest with you. He can't afford weird decisions.
Have you seen improvements? Have you seen improvements from Thomas Frank to Igor Tudor in the Premier League? Because these 5 Premier League games, bearing in mind that this guy was meant to come in and save us, 1 point in 5 matches.
Yeah, you have to take the Champions League out of it, because, yes, it was a win, but it's the Premier League. Has got to be where all the focus is on, of course. Have I seen an improvement? No. And because football's a results business, right? 5 losses. Oh, sorry. We got a draw there, didn't we? It just felt like 5 losses. I think you got to roll the dice again. If you're asking me, push comes, I think that they've got to roll the dice again. And Christ knows, don't ask me who to bring in. I'm kind of lost with it. I don't know. Perhaps Ricky and Terry might have a better idea of that, or perhaps I might want to stick with Igor Tudor.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the game. Of course, you were in the stadium today. I know you normally ask me about the atmosphere. I'm going to go back to the fans again. I thought the fans were absolutely superb in the game, really supporting the team. And creating that atmosphere yet again. A lot of them wearing white, which the club wanted. Of course, you're wearing white as well. What did you make of the game itself? And I'll also ask you that same question I asked Craig. Have you seen improvements under Igor Tudor? Because when you look at some of these results and performances, we cannot be putting in a performance like we did today, particularly when we were playing a team and going into this game who were just below us and now they've leapfrogged us in the Premier League table. We're now down to 17th. Where is Tottenham's next points coming from? Because I'm sitting here again, very, very worried. And, you know, dare I say it again, Spurs could be in the relegation zone before we play our next game. I tell you what, this is really, really worrying times for us all.
Chris, there's a lot in there. You asked me a lot there, but
I know. Sorry.
You know what, mate? Regardless, right now, we deserve it. We haven't shown anything under any manager. Do you know what I mean? Within this Premier League fight right now, we deserve where we are. We deserve where we're going. Palace, Fulham, those were must-win games. Collapsed. You know, we have 5 days, mate. 5 days. You know, we had a really good week. Liverpool, we didn't expect nothing. First time in ages, we got a point there. And we're so desperate for anything to cling to that we're like, okay, cool, fantastic. All right, cool. Hopefully this stops the rot. Hopefully this can push us on. Then we play Atletico. And the boys went out there to win that night. They played football. They stood up. They was confident. There was one-touch passing. There was overlaps. There was triangles. There was inverted. There was swapping of positions. There was There was shots from outside the box, inside the box. There were moves happening, and you go, all right, fine, okay. Now this is like a cup final. This is must win today, and you know, like we've said about the fans being absolutely fantastic. And they deserve better. We deserve better. 100%. I can tell you that much, man. But we set those boys up to go out there and fight and to go out there and win. And you know what's, first half I'm sitting there. I was a bit confused about the formation stuff. I felt the referee again was absolutely pathetic, embarrassing. It's got to the point now where I think the Premier League these refs, I think they're corrupt or something, mate, because there was so many things that was going on. You know, Archie was beginning to run the game and then they clamped him. He was down for a while. And even then when he got up, he was limping and he didn't look right after that. You know, there was a clip on Tell in the first half in the box. To me, from where I was sitting, it looked like he got him, but obviously I ain't seen the replay. But there was points where they tackled us on the edge of their box, and they gave the referee gave the free kick the other way. It was our free kick. You know, Tell was trying. I think today, right? I understand the back three against Liverpool, right, with all of their might, yeah. I can half understand it today because of the physicality of Forest. But today you've got to go out there to win. So today, it after seeing what Xavi's done midweek, you play him today. You have to play him because that's exactly what we was missing. We was missing somebody who turned on the ball. And Darren, my brother, I was there with Heartman today. You know, he was saying it. He was saying it nearly like take the ball, turn and drive through the middle. When we drove, we either got a clip, a free, well, sometimes, but we made something happen. There was a positive response, but we continued to play the horseshoe football today, man. Left, right, and centre, and we needed to score that first goal today. It was so important that we score that first goal today. And there was an opportunity that Richarlison created. He pulled it back and Solanke was that far away. And that was the moment right there. There was a bit of football, the momentum, the crowd, everybody was behind. That was the moment to score. And we had chance after chance, you know, the amount of corners that we had. And also with the corners, this is what troubled me. After 3-4 of these corners where, you know, Tell's very good at putting it in roughly the same spot where it needs it to be, right? But they're a huge side. And that is Milenkovic's and Murillo's bread and butter. They love a header out. They love being big, physical, brutey defenders. What they don't like is those that run in behind, pacey, tricky. They don't like that. But big, brutal, and intelligent time and stuff. That's what they love to do. And we kept just putting it on their foreheads. We kept putting it right into the box where they were out muscling us, out, using their strength, using their body, and just kept heading it out. You needed some variation there. And, that set piece coach has been here all season, right? But there has to be a point where the boys take responsibility and go, you know what, let's switch it up. Let's go short. Let's try and pull them out of position. Let's try and create some gaps and then get a ball in there. There was so much that we had some opportunities in that first half, but as soon as we conceded that goal, it was just, it sucked the life and the energy out of everything in the stadium. And even then, the fans still stood up and they still sang up. It took a minute, but it was a massive hammer blow. And I think the same happened to the boys. Massive hammer blow. I agree with Craig with everything that he said there about the board and everything, but the subs didn't really make sense to me. We saw that Udogie looked rough against Atletico. I would have left Mickey there, for at least 60 minutes. My change would have been Xavi. Bring on Xavi. Take off a defender or switch it up to bring on Xavi in the middle. If you want to keep Richarlison and Solanke on there, push them two up there as the two and play him in the 10 or play him. But play him, for goodness crackers. Just play him, because that's exactly what we needed. Bergval's coming back. You can see his touch is off. But it got to that point, gents, that I just knew, that second half turned up, and I just knew it wasn't in their hearts or their stomachs. It fell out again, and it went to safe football. It went to horseshoe football. It went to very slow football. The amount of times that somebody peeled off or made a run or made themselves available, the ball was there, and every single time they missed the beat. Do you know what I mean? You're supposed to do it on the baseline. You know what I mean? That's when you're supposed to do it, and they didn't do it.
Why though, Ricky? What do you put it down to? Because let me just read you this comment out from former Spurs and England goalkeeper Paul Robinson talking on BBC Sport. He said, "I don't see a structure, a game plan, or a way of playing. I don't see a tactical idea. I see a team that is set up in the first instance that changes 2 or 3 times during a game. They look devoid of ideas and a manager who is looking for something that he is yet to find and no time to find it." Do you agree with those comments? Because I agree with those comments 100%. I don't think that we have improved under Igor Tudor at all. And 1 point from a possible 15, this is not good enough. And when you're not beating a team at home against one of your, so-called rivals down in the relegation areas, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. We cannot be up for a game like this. We are deep in trouble.
No, mate, we are in trouble. And you know what? All right, let's switch it up to the manager. Right now, Chris, it feels to me, right? And it just feels to me from my chest that the boy, it shouldn't have mattered about formation today. It shouldn't have mattered about tactics today. It shouldn't have mattered about any of that today. That was a point where the captain grabs, the boys, where the boys stand up. It shouldn't matter about any of that today. Today, they should have gone out there to play football like they did. We've seen them play football. We just saw it. So it was time for them to take responsibility. It was time for them to accept the responsibility of taking charge of the game and not looking at the manager, not looking at the set piece coach, not looking at the ref even though I can't stand him, but not even looking at him. They should have taken matters into their own hands today. That's why right now, and maybe it's because I'm emotional, bro, because I'm fuming and I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to formulate ideas, but I'm fuming. But right now, it feels to me, it doesn't matter who's in charge right now, mate. It doesn't matter. If the boys cannot get up for today, like you said, forget the staff. Forget them. If they can't get up, if they can't take control, there's a point, mate. Like a boxer, you can have a trainer and he can teach you how to box all day long. But once you get into the ring, you've got to figure it out. When you get punched in the face, you've got to figure it out. So all of that duck, bob and weave that you've done in training, now you've got to figure it out in the moment. The trainer can't be in there. There's a point where you've got to pick yourself up and go, you know what, hold tight a minute. I'm getting fed up of getting punched in the head there. Let me move my head. Let me duck and dive. Let me do something. You've got to take responsibility. And it felt like none of them wanted to take responsibility. It felt like because the pressure was on today, suddenly everybody got scared and nervous and very safe today, bro. So I don't, if you want to talk about improvements, right? They're up until Liverpool, I hadn't seen any. But you know what? There was fight. There was a bit of battle. There was grit. They didn't drop their heads against Liverpool. They went and got a point last minute. And we deserved to get that point. Yeah, yes, Liverpool had chances, but we deserved it because of our endeavour. When you look at Atletico Madrid, probably arguably the best game of the season, where there was 95 minutes of boys that played football to win a game. They were disappointed, and even though they won it technically, they were disappointed and heartbroken that they went out. I liked that. That meant that they actually went out there to win, you know, with a mountain to climb. 5-2, that was the mountain to climb to begin with. And you know what? They didn't do 2 banks of 4. They didn't, you know, set to contain and try and counter. They went and played football. They drove through the middle. They tried a through ball. They tried a clip ball. They tried different variations. They were brave. There was one-touch passing. In the moment, bam, bam, bam. Look at that Archie Gray moment where Tell should have squared it against Atletico Madrid. Look at that moment. Look at that. There was football moments that was happening during that game. You have to take that. You have to take that. And regardless of what's said, you've got to see the fans in the street. You've got to see them in the stadium. You know the seriousness right now. They all know the seriousness of where we're at. If you can't grab it yourself and you can't take the initiative yourself, then who's going to change that, mate? I don't know. Maybe I'm out. Maybe I'm lost. Maybe I'm out of ideas. But I don't know. This was the moment. Palace was the moment. Fulham was the moment. West Ham was the moment. This was the moment. We're in and around it. And 3-0. I've only left the game early once before today. I got so upset. It was Teddy Sheringham's last game at the Lane. I was there with my dad. I can't remember who. I want to say it was Blackburn, but I'm not sure. But it was somebody we should have beat. But we ended up losing like 4-0. And I think it was like 80 minutes again. I looked at my dad and I couldn't sit there. I couldn't contain it. I said, "Pops, I'll meet you in the pub." And I met him in the pub. Okay. Today, I was literally sitting there and it was like I had the jitters. Now, I'm off alcohol until April 2nd. All right. But it was like I had the jitters, bro. I'm sitting there on 75, 80, and I'm like, I can feel it. I can feel that it's not happening. I can feel that they're not up for it, and I can feel it getting worse. And you know what, bro? I'm sitting there with Darren. I haven't been able to see a game with Darren in ages. Do you know what I mean? Like, me and him we've known each other since school days. Do you know what I mean? Like primary school days. So he's my brother. You know, it was great to be there with him on the side, but I couldn't do it, mate. It got to 80, 81, and I was like, down. I said, I've got to go, mate. I've got to go. And I had to get out of there, bro. I couldn't hear that final whistle. I couldn't hear us boo or walk out with a heartbroken energy, bro. I had to get out of there. And I was just like, let me be, man. And oh my goodness, man. And you know what, bro? Like I said, like these fans do deserve better. I was sitting around some great. I was in the East Upper today, and I was sitting around some fantastic people. There was a guy to my left who called me Top Bins. That made me smile straight away. He was like, "Hey, Top Bins." I gave it, you know. There was an Irish school teacher in front of me that he knew more tactics than what Tudor did at that point. He was on it, man. There was a bald guy in front of me that nearly caught injury lawyers for you claim because he bashed his head on my knee as he's gone, ah. And then there was a lovely lady from Bristol as well who watches the pod. She's probably watching it on the way home. So big up to all the Bristol crew. And, you know, she was just like, you know, she was saying to me, but also like the pod, for trying to keep a positive, but for trying to keep going, for trying to look for those hopes and to try and do what we do and have therapy sessions, you know, because we have an open therapy session. but we do it for the fans too, and that's what she was saying. So I just met fantastic people. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, everything was there, and it's just a massive punch in the gut, bro. But we are in dire straits. We are in trouble massively. I don't know where we go from here because they've got to sit with us now for the next 2 weeks and a half. And, you bring in another manager, what happens then? I don't know, mate. I really don't know. I really don't know anymore.
Ricky, in the post-match interview, Christian Romero, of course, Spurs captain, said it's important to stay together, especially in this tough moment. Just very quickly, give me a yes or a no. Will Spurs be a Premier League team next season?
No, I don't think so, mate. I don't think so, unfortunately. I can't believe I'm saying that, and it breaks me to say that. But if you can't turn up today, bruv, like today was it, mate. Today was the sea of change, and I don't know. I'm broken, bro. So maybe in 24 hours I'll feel different. Maybe in 3 weeks I'll feel different. I really don't know. But like right now, I don't see a hope in hell's chance right now, bro. And what kills me most of all, yes, referee decisions all throughout the season, but what kills me most of all is that we deserve it, mate. We deserve it. We deserve it. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think I've got do you know what? After this, I might have to phone my dad and just hear what he's got to say because he'll make me feel better. But I honestly don't know right now, man. But no, to right now, Chris, the answer to your question for me is no.
Terry, let's come to you. You've heard a very passionate rant from Craig. You've heard from Ricky there. What do you make of the game overall and the position we're in right now?
Yeah, I agree with much of what both of them say, Ricky, especially about I don't know if a different manager would have made a difference, and I don't know if a different manager is going to make a difference at this point. I mean, like you, I could not believe Tudor was still our coach after that first Atletico game. And I really, really, really thought we should bring in someone else before Liverpool, even though we thought we were going to lose that game, just to start instilling some of those new principles and those new tactics of play in. And then this last week has just been such a surprise. It really has. Liverpool and then the second Atletico game. Ricky, like you said, I mean, we're seeing more triangles, we're seeing more overlaps, we're seeing shots on goals, we're seeing more efforts. So, pre-Liverpool, I think we were actually worse under Tudor than we were under Frank. I do think we have been better, Chris, over the past week and in the first half of today as well. I think we were there. But again, the fragility of the club, it's the contrast between the Nottingham defenders and our defenders. I feel like we had a lot of good chances and we created a lot of good chances, but the way that the Nottingham defenders would just close down and just in that split second, just get in front of the ball. I don't know how many blocks they had. And the contrast with that I don't think anything encapsulates or represents the season more so than that second goal, the Morgan Gibbs White goal. I mean, so we froze the shot. There were 5 players in Morgan Gibbs White's vicinity, none closer than 3 feet of him. To score that easily, and what makes that more frustrating is that I feel like in the first half, we were closing down. The pressure was there. We were winning the ball down. They didn't have space like that in the first half, which means we have the capability, we have the skills to play good defense, and it's just will. That will just goes away, and that will wasn't there in the second half. I can't put that on Tudor. I don't think Tudor's amazing, not by any means, but I can't put that second half on Tudor. I put that on the players, and I don't know if any manager could get more of an effort, more fight from this group of players. On those 3 goals, Romero, our captain, was jogging around. He was honestly just jogging around. It sometimes he would sprint up in the front, and like sometimes he'll get involved. All the times just jogging around. I don't know how you can put that on Tudor, and it's just It's baffling because what you can see, I don't want to single out certain players, but you can see someone like Romero when he's on, like, and I think he was on in that first half. You see his capability. You see that the spaces aren't there. But in the second half, when they're just jogging around, a goal goes in, they're all pointing at each other. Dougie's pointing at someone, Romero's pointing at someone, Vicario's yelling at someone. It's just it's that teamwork isn't there, that spine isn't there, that will to fight back isn't there. I don't know who can come in that could get a tune out of these players more so than Tudor can right now. Because I feel like we've seen glimpses of that in the past week, and that actually does give me hope. That, like, if you were to ask me, do I think we're going to be a Premier League team next year? Yeah, I do. Just because we haven't seen two good halves from Tottenham in such a long time, other than maybe the Atletico game, but I'm not going to count that. But if I don't think we should change anything at halftime. I thought we were fine until that goal came in, and I actually went into halftime, even though we were a goal down. I thought if we just kept that same level of pressure and momentum, that we would find ways to score. I was actually pretty optimistic going into that second half, and then they came out just flatter than flat can be. It's I feel like we're due. I don't know. How can we go this long? How can it be this long without a win in 2026? We have to be due. We have to be due for an end-to-end game where we provide performance. Whether that's under Tudor or not, I almost think it's irrelevant. I think it's more up to the players whether they really want to play for an entire 90 minutes or not.
But like Paul Robinson said there, Terry, and I completely agree about the structure. Do you see a clear structure about us going forward, particularly under Igor Tudor? Because a manager is meant to come in and make a dramatic difference. 1 point in a possible 15, I don't think is anywhere near good enough. And of course, I'll go back to it again. We could be in the bottom three, going into our very next game. And physicality really bothered me today. I felt like Nottingham Forest were so up for the game. I felt like they wanted it more. They were more passionate. 50-50 balls, the second balls, they won all of them. And the physicality, I know Ricky says about the refereeing decisions and the officials today. Yes, some of the decisions could have certainly gone our way, but we've said this on a lot of podcasts recently. And when things don't go for you and you don't get that bit of luck, I think that all of us will, rightly moan at the referee and officials for every single little decision. We didn't lose that game today because of refereeing or official decisions. We lost that because we weren't up for the fight like Nottingham Forest were. And like Craig and Ricky, who are on here every single game, we have said more recently so often about our players not being up for the fight to match the likes of West Ham United, to match the likes of Nottingham Forest. And when we played Nottingham Forest today, if you can't have that fight about you and match that, that physical strength, what chance do we have? Clearly a manager has to change that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Nottingham Forest's defenders played like they knew they were in a relegation battle, and ours just didn't. At least in the second half, they didn't. Your question about the structure, it is confusing. It almost seems. The lineups come out every week, and the game starts, and you kind of wonder where certain players are going to be, kind of what that structure is going to be. He tinkers with it a lot as different players come in. The structure changes on offense. It seems to be one structure on defense. So there seems to be a lot of tinkering. So if I was to look at it glass half full, at least he's trying different things. I can imagine that it's got to be confusing for the players. I forget, it was Craig or Ricky mentioned Pedro Porro. He did look a little lost today, and it wasn't quite the same Pedro Porro that we're all used to. And I think a lot of that is due to the structure. So no, I don't think there is much structure, and I don't think there's a clear pattern of play, or there's a clear kind of way that he wants to play. I do think we have seen improvements. Again, it's just but the halftime changes just were baffling, even at the time. I mean, in hindsight, anybody can say that the halftime changes weren't right, but even at the time, I thought I thought Mickey Van de Ven looked great in the first half. I don't know if you guys have heard if he's been injured or not. I thought Spence looked great as well. in that first half. I thought most of our players looked great in that first half, and it's just that really just burst any momentum going forward, and it's just I don't know. I don't know with whether Tudor stays or not. I don't. I'm going to put it more on the players than on the coach. Not that Tudor is scot free in this. Not by any means. He's we could certainly improve on him. I just don't know who that is, especially with just 7 games to go.
Terry, I know you're a very polite guy, but I tell you what, I wouldn't describe any player performance, even in the first 45 minutes. I certainly wouldn't use the word great.
Okay. I thought we were pretty good. I thought we were pretty good across the board. I really did. We had a lot of chances. There weren't a lot of shots on goal, but I feel like there are chances that were created, much more so than Nottingham Forest, and a lot of that play. There was about a 20-minute period there where Nottingham Forest had trouble getting out of their own half, and like we would immediately get the ball back. We were constantly putting pressure on them. Listen, maybe it's just comparing us to games in the past couple of months or past 3 months. Any kind of improvement from there seems good, but for me, it seemed like we had a little bit back of our old Tottenham back in the first half.
We had only had one shot on target until very, very late on. Ricky, what did you want to come and say?
I wanted to say, first, you're asking about structure and stuff, right? What we need most of all, what is missing most of all, is heart. It's heart.
Passion, desire, exactly.
The Hammers have got that. Forest to have that. Do you know what I mean? Those in and around, even Wolves. Do you know? And Wolves are gone, but even Wolves have got that. You need that. It needs to matter here, not here. It needs to matter here in your heart. If you don't win today, then it needs to break your heart today. Do you know what I mean? It needs to mean that much. You know, and when Terry, you mentioned it there was jogging, or Romero jogging around. You know, I was looking at it. I was like, what's going on? He's run up the field. He's gone on an attack, and then they're on a counter, and yet he's jogging back. You're looking at certain things. You're going, what's going on here? But it's heart. That's where heart comes into play. You know, that you look at Spence against Atletico, and in the 90-something odd minute, he done that sprint, didn't he, to slide challenge. I don't know who it was right now, but I think it was like 85th, 90th minute, whatever it was. He sprinted all the way back and got in a slide chat. They're like, that's some heart. Like, this is what the boys need. They needed that today. More than anything, more than any structure. That's what I say about taking responsibility. You know, someone like Gascoigne, heart all day. Do you think Gascoigne, it would have mattered what Tudor said to Gascoigne? He would have been, give me the ball. All right, let's go. I'm going to make something happen. Something's going to happen. And that player that had that moment on Wednesday was Xavi. And he was on the bench today, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was the most obvious thing. I don't know, but it's heart. It's heart. More than anything, it's heart. And to jump on what Terry's saying as well about a positive first half, there was positives. It was very easy, again, as it's been for every single team, to cut through us and create chances and to have gaps and options. The amount of times that Forest had options around, 3 or 4 options around them was, that was bad enough. But we were on the attack. The fact that we had so many corners was because we was on an attack. Do you know what I mean? We was trying to make something happen. So, it was that sucker punch of the first goal. But yeah, it structure's nothing without heart, man. And then you need belief.
Yeah, Chris, I'm looking back my notes here. It's I have 13 minutes, 15 minutes, 16 minutes, 25, 29, 32, 33, all Spurs highlights. Like the first time I even mentioned Nottingham Forest is that corner by that corner by Forest in the 45th minute. I feel like everything was just all positive Spurs up to that point.
Yeah, but we could all turn moments into positive moments. But if you're not making a goalkeeper make a save or putting the ball in the back of the net, it's about key moments and it's about actual delivery and finish.
Yeah.
Craig, let's come to you before we talk about the game itself. Christian Romero said there it's about staying together, especially in this tough moment. Sadly, we've heard this type of narrative so many times from these players. And of course, in the last couple of days, we've heard a number of these players saying, we've got to pull ourselves together. We've got to be up for the fight, etc., etc. And of course, I mentioned the fans again. The fans certainly delivered today. The players didn't. I know, and it's really sad to see this as well. I now know a lot of people that used to go to the games on a regular basis. They now don't. Ricky even said that he went to the stadium today. He left early, which, thousands did. Do you think that many people will keep supporting in the way that they have always done when they're not seeing, this heart, desire, passion from some of the players and more importantly, delivering results and performances?
I think you'll see attendances drop without a doubt. I mean, it's just the way it goes, isn't it? People, and it's not cheap to go and watch Tottenham, no matter whether it's a Category C game. It's not cheap, especially if you go with the family. And people will just decide to stay at, because most of our games are going to be on the telly now, because the media are going to love this, by the way. That we're in this relegation battle, so people are just going to stay at home because they're going to think, why should I bother going now if the players aren't giving the same as what the fans are? And you're right, that's all that Ricky said it's all that we ask. We ask for 100% each week from every player, and we're not seeing it. And Conte was right going back to his presser, after the Southampton game just before he got sacked. These players don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Nothing has changed in 3-4 years ago? Nothing's changed. Ever since that Chelsea defeat, really, the 4-1 where we had 2 players sent off and lost Mickey van der Ven and Maddison to injury, it's kind of been a downhill slide since then almost. Yeah, there's been ups and downs, and the big up was obviously the Europa League. But, and tactically, it's just, How many goals have we scored from a long throw-in?
None.
And
I actually said that to the guy sitting next to me today. I turned around and said, when Kevin Dancer was taking a throw, I actually said, we haven't scored from one so far this season. I said, I want to keep mentioning it because I want to make it happen. And, one did come in and it got headed against the crossbar, which we'll talk about shortly. But going back to all of you guys talking about how many corners we had today, and sorry to interrupt you on this, Craig, the amount of corners that we had, Spurs have a fantastic record from scoring against corners. I think it's the second best in the Premier League, especially given our league position. But also Nottingham Forest have conceded, I think they're second on the list for conceding the most. So, Spurs, it should have been a big thing about set pieces, and the deliveries, in my opinion, weren't good enough today, especially against the Nottingham Forest side, so used to conceding corners this season. Yeah. What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, no, spot on. I mean, Tell's ones from the whatever way you're looking at it, where he's curling it in towards the goal, he's right-footed. Imagine that. Attacking the ball wasn't good enough. But the ones from the other side that he was taking, the more floaty sort of ones, if you're an attacker, you should be getting the flight of that ball and just attacking the ball like your life depends on it. And there's just none of that today. Forest dealt with most of them, apart from the one, like you say, hit the bar. I just didn't have that feeling we were going to score today. It was a weird sort of feeling. I just thought we could have been playing for 10 hours and we wouldn't have scored. And, Forest were good for their win at the end. And it's all very well. You look, set pieces. I love a set piece when I played. It's a big weapon to have. It's a good weapon to have, that long throw and the corners, whatever you want to call it. But it's just not good enough. The long throws every time is, oh, Kevin, here he comes. Oh, right, nobody's gotten the end of it. It's just, and the only thing that's cheering me up a little bit is the fact Arsenal are losing. But really, I couldn't give a shit what Arsenal are. I don't really think about Arsenal that much. It's good that they're losing, don't get me wrong, but I'm more concerned about Spurs.
Yeah, it does look like Manchester City will win the Carabao Cup today. But as you said there, Craig, I'm not really interested in what's going on there. I'm more interested about us in this relegation fight, or whether we're going to be in the Premier League or the Championship next season. But an interesting thing that you said there about, make that challenge like your life depends on it. Do everything in the game like your life depends on it. Have we got the manager? Have we got the squad? Have we got the players where they have that attitude, and they are going to have that attitude from now until the end of the season? And I'll ask you that question, what I just asked Ricky. Do you think that Spurs are going to be playing the Championship next season? Do you think we're going to be playing the Premier League? Because if we don't buck our ideas up, yes, there are games left, but if we don't buck our ideas up, quick, we are going to be in serious, serious trouble.
It pains me to say it as well, Chris, but I agree with what Ricky said. I think today was almost like a sliding doors moment. It was a sliding doors game, and we had to win it. That's how it works in my mind. As Ricky said, I agree again. I might feel differently in 3 weeks, but
didn't we all say this about the Crystal Palace defeat and the West Ham defeat?
Yeah, but we had seen little things this week. I thought perhaps something's changed, and it hasn't changed at all. That was the game that they should have been up for, and I can see us playing our football in the Championship next year. I'm sorry to say, and it's going to be, anybody who thinks that we're going to bounce straight back up again, that is like in limbo down there. It's a hard, tough league. You're playing twice a week. It's a really, really hard battling league. You think the teams now that are battling to stay in the Premier League are tough? You wait till they're going in some of the teams that are down in that Championship. Then you're going to have to see character. And some of these players are just going to go and get their moves and don't have to worry about it. We're the fans. We can't change. We have to stick with it. We have to, support the team no matter what. It's just horrendous to think about. How the hell are we in this position? Oh, well done, Vinay and Johan, by the way. Your gamble hasn't really paid off, has it? Honestly, shocking. Your dereliction of duty. I'm so frustrated and annoyed. You're out to run a football club badly. Honestly, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Absolutely ashamed of yourselves. I wish I could really, really swear on here, because I'll absolutely go to town on it. But I hope my point's coming across. Shocking way to handle a fan base, a football club. Honestly, the arrogance to think that you know best. Millions of fans around the world said exactly the same thing about Thomas Frank, and you did not listen and look at what you've got. Seriously. Oh, winds me up.
Craig,
sorry.
Craig, I couldn't agree with you more on Vinay and Johan here. So my concern, whether we stay up or whether we go down, my concern is that Vinay and Johan are making any decisions on what our future is going to look like this summer, next year, 2 years from now. It's like they should have no say in what the future direction of this club is, whether we stay up or go down. It's like they've gotten us into this mess. I don't want them to make any kind of decision going forward. So I don't think they should be here. It's like nothing we can do about Enoch. The owners are our owners. We're stuck with them, unfortunately. But Vinay and Johan, that we can do something about. Right, so I'm 100% with you on this one, Craig.
I'm not sure. Well, we can't do anything about it. Unfortunately, that's the frustration, Terry. We can't do anything about the owners other than protest and protest and protest. Right. I'm not even sure that got Mike Ashley out of Newcastle, to be honest with you. And the Newcastle fans, they suffered years of absolute hell under Mike Ashley, and he only sold when he was ready to sell. So Enoch ain't going to sell when we're in the Championship, because they're going to get less money for their investment. So we need to stay in the Premier League if we even want them to sell, which a majority of people want them to sell. So Enoch can do one. They can go. Vinay and Johan, absolutely done with that pair of clowns. And to be honest with you, I know Daniel Levy wasn't my favourite person, but I guarantee he wouldn't be in this position. And Thomas Frank would have been in as charge as long as he was if Daniel Levy was still here. He wouldn't have dilly-dallied. He'd have got rid of him when he could see where the problems were in November. So, you reap what you sow, Enoch. You reap what you sow, Vinay and Johan. Just piss off. Sorry.
Craig, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium seems to be a real problem for us at the moment because of the amount of defeats that we've had. And you mentioned there, if Spurs were to go down to the Championship, then of course, every team that turns up to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium will go, wow, what a lovely, shiny, brand new stadium, and what a fantastic place. And it seems at the moment that everyone seems to up their game when they come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And I never ever thought that I'd be saying this, but our home stadium at the moment just seems to be a real issue.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. Those teams that are coming from the Championship, they're going to think, oh, this is nice. And every game is going to be a cup final for everybody next season when we're in the Championship, because we're going to be the team that people want to beat. We are going to be that team, and that's basically going to be everybody's number one game. They can't wait to come to our stadium and beat us. I mean, this fortress that it was supposed to be is. Look, I'm still in support of the new stadium. I still think that we had to do it, but that White Hart Lane, that last season, not losing, I mean, that's a distant memory, isn't it? That Manchester United game, the last game of the season that year. I've spoke about it before. That image of when it stopped raining, there was a rainbow and the camera panned around and Poch was standing there looking at all the fan base. It just seems a million miles away, 1,000 years ago. And how the hell are we here? How the hell are we here? Seriously.
Yeah, I should say actually, during before the bus turned up, before the game, there are a number of Spurs fans singing Maurizio Pochettino's name yet again. Ricky, before we come to you to talk about the game itself, we're now going to listen to the post-match press conference from Bruno Salter, who, of course, is Igor Tudor's assistant. It's for the next 5 minutes or so.
Ali, please.
Hi there, Bruno. Obviously a big match for the club. The fans kind of turned up. Where did it all go wrong today on the pitch?
I think in the small details. I thought for 44 minutes in the first half we were the better team. And again, I think any mistake that we make, any small detail goes against us, and we're not able to capitalize the opposition's mistakes. And probably that affected to the team, and that's our job as a coach is, to keep helping the players. And as you could see, the players, they care and they 100% trying their best. But at the moment it's not enough, and we need to minimize any mistakes because we know that we're going to concede a goal.
Ask about the double change at half time. Was Mickey injured?
No, it was a sub with the intention to give more dynamic in the left side and have more legs going forward. And yeah, I thought that was a tactical sub.
Just last one from me. How do you turn this around? How do you turn around the whole mood? Because obviously the stadium isn't a fortress right now for the team.
No, completely. The best way to do it is focusing every day in doing your best, trying to be the best version of yourself, trying to push through difficulties, focusing on every action, not focusing on the end goal. It's just focusing and giving your best every day. That sounds a topic, but that's the only thing that you can do. And players, obviously, as us, we need to reflect in ourselves and try to get the best version because we need it now.
Hi Bruno, first of all, how is Igor?
It's a personal family issue, and obviously it's a difficult moment for him. And we're just trying to support the best way we can.
Is it something he knew about throughout the game? Was it right at the end that he found out?
I'm going to leave it there because I think it's as I said, it's a personal matter.
And obviously there's a 3-week gap now till the next game. Obviously the results haven't been great of late. Do you still feel you'll be given the time as a coaching staff to turn this around?
Yeah, of course. We feel the support from everyone at the club, and we just focusing on how we can help players. Obviously, a lot of players they leave it now for the internationals, and as soon as they get back on the training camp and try to get everyone up to speed and preparing the next game.
George, Bruno, it's 13 games now without a Premier League win. What gives you the belief that Tottenham can get themselves out of this situation and stay up?
It gives me the belief the last two games against Liverpool and Atletico Madrid. I thought they were a great performance from the first minute to the last minute. And the first half today, to be honest, I think we should have been 1-0 up at least. if you look at the stats, you know, I mean, we created clear chances. But as I said, like right now, like every small little is going against us, and it's about turning that around, and that's why it gives me confidence.
What can you say about the fans? Obviously, you haven't got the result, but I'm sure you was on the bus. You saw the efforts before the game. You know, what sort of impact did that make to the players?
I thought they were outstanding since the first minute when we were coming in, and to the last minute, they stayed. They showed their support. It was quite emotional for everyone on the bus, and that's what we need, because right now all of us, we have the same goal. That is like fight until the end of the season and stay in the Premier League as this club deserves.
Chris, just down here, please. Oh, it's okay. George, you want to pass to Tom, please?
Hi, Bruno. Just on the other half-time sub, was that also tactical?
Sorry?
On the other half-time sub, Bergvall for Spence, was that an injury, or was that tactical as well?
No, everything was tactical. It was a tactical sub.
And you said the first half performance was good, but the second half performance seemed not so good. How do you put the difference down to the kind of two performances?
No, I think the players got affected by the rhythm of the game, and we couldn't find, as I said, like that rhythm to create more chances. And yeah, as I said, like first half, first 44 minutes, I thought were good, really good, creating chances, getting into the box. And yeah, second half probably we weren't able to deal with the weight of the game.
Final one, please.
Hi, Bruno. What's the latest on Mateus Tell there? Come off injured?
No, we're just still assessing and seeing if he can go with the national team.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Terry, Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on Bruno's comments there, particularly about the subs at half-time.
Well, you know, they made a tactical sub, mate. They were trying to change it up and trying to do something else. But I think what was more important about what he said there was how much that goal affected them right on the end of half-time in the first half. Which, again, you know, we've conceded enough goals now. And I know each one is a gutter punch for us fans, and it must be for the players too. But they're in control of it. It's up to them to, instead of taking it on a negative energy flex in your chest, you've got to turn it into, you know what, let's go, let's just go. But you know, obviously they didn't. Everything just went downhill after that. But you know, they made subs to give it a go. For me, I felt that they were wrong in the sense, if you was going to take off a defender, really and truly, I would have kept Danzo and Mickey as centre backs, just so that you've got power and pace. You know, power in Danzo, pace in Van der Ven. Spence, you know, he could have been switched to one of the wings as well, and we could have had somebody natural on that right hand side. I think Pape today looked a bit leggy, so I think that would have been the smartest choice there, to take him off and put Bergvall in. But for me, it was just about getting Xavi in there. I thought the biggest thing to try and turn that game was to get somebody driving through the centre, you know, to commit the opposition into committing fouls and trying to stop him. Like, I think that was the biggest piece that we was missing. We was missing something in the centre. And it was a shame because, you know, we was all hoping to see this relegation form Richarlison, and I mean, for me, he hardly touched it. He hardly got up there, you know, same as Solanke, really. But okay, so they tried it. Yeah, for me, it wasn't the right subs, but yeah, they tried to do it to try and get some impetus and some energy moving forward, I suppose.
Now, Opta's supercomputer has just predicted that Leeds will finish 15th, Forest 16th, Spurs 17th, and West Ham 18th. So they think that, or they're predicting at the moment, that Spurs will survive the drop, and they will be a Premier League team next season. Let's wait and see. Terry, let's move on to the game itself.
Chris, let me ask you a quick question. Bro. How are you feeling, bro? Before you get to Terry and the starting lineup, I just want to know how you're feeling, mate. Because I know you get to dish out the questions, But at the same time, how did you feel? Because you was in the parade today. It was a parade. You was in that parade today. You was in the stadium today. You go to every single game, home and away. The thing is that for me as well, that parade, it makes it's a slap in the face to all of us. The fact that we lost 3-0, it's a massive slap in the face. People will look at us and go, "Look what you done to go up against Nottingham Forest." Do you know what I mean? We tried to come together. We know what we done and why we done it. But my goodness, I mean, I just want to know how you're feeling. Like, do you want to keep Tudor? What are you seeing, feeling? Because it's been a different week. So, tell me what you're feeling, bro. Because
there's a lot there.
You're normally, but you do it to me all the time. But you're there all the time. So I would love to know how you're feeling at this point, bro.
Ricky, I echo what all you three guys have said, and a lot of the viewers watching as well. I echo a lot of their thoughts and feelings as well, and I'm just feeling a little bit gutted actually, and I hate the fact that we are playing next in 3 weeks' time, because you need to be turning something like this around very, very quickly, and you need that next game as soon as possible. So the fact that we don't play now for 3 weeks, that is very, very frustrating. But talking about the coach turning up today, there was that real togetherness, and I absolutely love moments like that. I know you and I speak about that parade of winning the Europa League trophy, back in May. That was incredible scenes, and every single time I walk, particularly this season, every single time I walk down that high road, I always think of that parade and how magical and what a fantastic day that was. And I know we always joke about the plant pot, always look over there and just imagine it all again. And I tell you what, that was so close to being like that again today. And I'm thinking, but it's very different. It felt very different today because we were there supporting the team because we wanted them to deliver. Yes, it's been a very, very tough and a dismal season, but we're down there in a relegation fight. And when all of those fans have turned up, and you said before we even went live that you had train problems today, there were train problems galore. People, travel to the stadium nice and early today to support the team, to back the team, to back Igor Tudor. And we've listened, like I said earlier, we've listened to these players say about we're going to give more fight, we're going to give passion, desire, all of those things. And I just feel gutted because they didn't deliver today. I felt like the Spurs fans delivered, the players didn't deliver today. And, are we going to get enough points to stay in the Premier League? I've gone through, full circle thinking we're going down. And then you see that heart, passion, desire against Liverpool. And then you think, yes, the renewed faith again. You think we're going to be staying up. And then you see that performance today. And as I said to Terry earlier, you can't be losing a game like that in the manner that we did today, 3-0. I don't think anyone, whether you're a Spurs fan or not a Spurs fan, I don't think anyone in the world would have predicted that Nottingham Forest come to our stadium and win 3-0 today. And I just feel really disappointed, absolutely gutted. And more so, Ricky, I feel really worried about the future of our football club. I agree with so much what Craig said about the board making wrong decisions, but I feel like we've got so many problems on so many levels, the board, the manager, the players. And in answer to your other question about Igor Tudor, I don't think that he is the man to keep us up. And would I make a change? Yes, I would. I don't think that we have seen enough in the 5 games in the Premier League that he has managed. Like Craig said, if you take that Champions League game away, have we seen enough in these 5 Premier League games to give us all faith that we're going to stay in the Premier League? No. I don't think it is about being polite and saying, oh, we'll keep Igor Tudor because, he's come in. It's about us surviving. And you need to make that decision on whether you think that we are going to get more points with him or without him. In my opinion, if it was my choice, I would get a different manager in, particularly now that we've got 3 weeks to do it, because I can't see us picking up enough points under Igor Tudor going forward. And that really, really does worry me.
Chris,
yeah.
Who would you like to see come in tomorrow? Mason?
I think that it's got to be someone who has played for the club and it really does mean something. And I think an ex-player, an ex-manager, there are so many players or ex-players and previous managers coming out saying that they would like to do the job. And do I think that we would get more out of this team with one of those in charge? Yes, I do. I really do. I think it's been a disaster of an appointment, if I'm honest. I know we've spoken in the last couple of podcasts about a really positive week, that point at Liverpool and that win against Atletico Madrid. But let's face it and be honest and frank about it. What does that mean, that 3-2 win against Atletico Madrid? It doesn't mean anything. It's about putting points on the board in the Premier League. This is what matters. So, you know, with respect, and I know, like you've mentioned there, Craig, you know, and sympathy and condolences go to Igor Tudor, you know, for a family member passing away today. It's terrible news, but, you know, this is about Spurs and this is about our future. You know, I certainly do not want to be playing Championship football next season. I want to be remaining in the Premier League. And the amount of fans say, oh, it will be good for us because of it'll be a reset. Craig's absolutely right. There is absolutely no guarantee. How many teams have we seen go down to the Championship and then they've really struggled, and some of them have never ever come back? So it's worrying, Ricky. That is probably the one thing that I would say, really worrying. And I never thought that we'd be in this position, particularly, you know, such little time after us having that parade, us having that wonderful moment in Bilbao, and then 2 days later, that parade outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I didn't ever think that we'd be in this position so soon. It's a disgrace, and we should never, ever be in this position, because the transfer window should have been better. Decision-making should have been better. And as Craig also rightly said, Thomas Frank should have gone a long, long time ago to give anyone, any new manager, whether it would have been Igor Tudor or somebody else, a new manager to come in, given time and, you know, basically given, you know, a transfer window as well to turn things around. But, yeah, I feel very disappointed.
Do you feel let down, bro?
Of course, Rick. I feel like every single Spurs fan feels let down, because we should never, ever be in this position. Spurs should always be a top four club challenging for top honours, and we are a million miles away from that right now, to be in a position now, you know, where we could be in the bottom three, you know, with so few games to go. It is really, really worrying, very frustrating. And like I say, we should never, ever be in this position. And, you know, decisions need to be made, and better decisions need to be made. But, you know, in answer to your question, I would make the change. Yeah, I don't see any improvements under Igor Tudor, if I'm honest. And we'll get into it, because we'll talk about the starting 11 now. I feel that he got the team selection wrong. I felt like he got these subs wrong as well today. And, you know, as much as we could sit here and say, well, it was a pretty even contest in that first half, you know, when you make those changes in the second half, I felt like it did change the game. And Nottingham Forest, do you know what, as well? Me being sat behind the dugouts, when the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White came off, you know, he was laughing and joking around with his teammates and the coaches on the bench. And I genuinely believe that they couldn't believe how easy it was that they got the 3 points today. And that is gutting to see, because I've seen that so often. And how many wins in the Premier League have we seen at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this season? It is simply not good enough. Like Craig also said, you know, it's meant to be a fortress, and it just seems like such an easy place to go. And, you know, the amount of banter that we get from opposition fans, it just seems such an easy win. And we seem to be very easy to play against and to be beaten this season. So, yes, I feel heavily let down, Ricky, heavily let down. And like I've said many times on this podcast so far, you know, the fans were great today. We turned up, and, you know, to not see more heart and desire and more passion and more, I use that word again, more physicality. We had to be physical today. We had to be up for the fight. You know, Tudor spoke a couple of weeks ago about, you know, we can either cry or we can be up for the fight. And, you know, we weren't up for the fight today. And, you know, we're all crying at the moment. Not good. Terry, let's come to you on the starting 11. Vicario, Danso, Richarlison, Tell, Gray, Romero as captain, Solanke, Porro, Spence, Sarr, Van der Ven. Subs today, Kinski, Dragusin, Polinia, Javi, Udogi, Bergval, Gallagher, Souza, and Kolo Muani. As Ricky said earlier about Javi Simmons, you know, you talk about that game, you know, out of the Champions League, we lost on aggregate over the two legs to Atletico Madrid. Javi Simmons was star man, star player, picked up the player of the match award against Atletico Madrid. I'll tell you what, the one thing before the game, when this team lineup came out, the amount of people that come up to me in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, including many friends, family, etc., messaging me, whether it be on the phone or social media or whatever, and everyone was saying, why on earth is Xavi Simons not starting this game? Do you agree?
So I think I'm the wrong person to to ask this one because it seems like I'm very much in the minority. I didn't think Xavi should start just because I thought it'd be very physical, especially with Elliot Anderson, who I think is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, if not in the world. So it's I was actually okay with the lineup because I feel like he was going with the hot hand and the players who were in form at the moment. I'm saying Xavi, but I feel like comparing Xavi versus Atletico Madrid in a European match versus Nottingham Forest is a very different proposition. So I know I'm in the minority on this one. I mean, I would have liked to maybe seen Palhinha. I'm not sure what his condition is with the concussion, or Gallagher just because of the work rate. I understand that Gallagher hasn't been in the best form, but no, I didn't think Xavi should be in the starting lineup. But I know I'm in the minority on that one.
In the pre-match press conference to this game, Terry, Igor Tudor actually praised Xavi Simons for his physicality in games and saying to have offensive players like that, you're going to win more football matches by having offensive players by having that physicality. Craig, were you surprised?
I was very surprised Xavi didn't get a run, to be honest. I thought, you know, when you're a player and you've played well and then you don't play the next game, it's all about the confidence thing, especially with Xavi. You can tell he's a confidence player. And I think, you know, hearing the manager's words after that, he would have probably thought that he surefire to start in this game. And I think we could have really done with him because I just think he was on a hot vein of form. I was kind of okay with the way they set up the back with the back five, Vicario, who's out now, obviously having his hernia operation. So is he going to be available for Sunderland and Brighton? Very much doubtful. So we're going to have Kinski or Austin, probably going to be Kinski. But Spence, Van der Ven, Romero and Danzo, I don't mind seeing Van der Ven at left back. I thought, you know, he's played there for the Dutch national team. I thought he would be quite good bombing down the wing, which he didn't do. The middle of the park, I was quite happy with Gray and Sarr because they've been playing well together. I just thought there could have been a slight tactical tweak and put Xavi in there, perhaps because he wanted to essentially go 4-4-2. He didn't feel that he could get Xavi in the team. And it was obviously Porro on the right and Tell on the left. Tell quite rightly starting. Porro, you know, you could have put Xavi in there perhaps for Porro, but probably the best crosser of the ball in the side. So, and then Richarlison and Solanke up front. So, I would have liked to have seen Xavi start. That's the change I would have liked to have seen, Chris. And I was just disappointed he didn't, to be honest.
Ricky, what did you make of the starting 11 today?
Well, you know, we're talking about Xavi right now. For me, what was really impressive, and yes, the result didn't matter Wednesday, you know, but what was really impressive about that performance was the link up between Sarr, Gray, Xavi, Tell, you know, all of these young ones that are emerging and maturing. They were finding each other. They were finding each other in pockets of space with one-touch passing, and he was the creative hub. Xavi was that creative hub in the middle. And that's why, for me, today, especially after having a great game on Wednesday, you play him today. Also, because he's been dropped the last two before that. So he's been dropped the last two before the Atletico Madrid game, and you put him in for Atletico, and he has a star game, like you said. He got man of the match. So he's had that impact, right? You've dropped him in a sense. You've gone for a different tactical shape. But when you put him in, you've gone, go on in, show me what you got. And he scores 2 goals. One from outside the box-ish, great curling effort, and a confident penalty. He's hot. He's proved the point. You got to play him. You got to figure it out. Now, if that means playing one of Richarlison or Solanke, then great, do that. because you've seen somebody that's in form and that actually created a chance and was actually can do something and stood up to a challenge of being dropped and then go and show me what you got. So when he's done that, I think that you've got to reward that, one, but two, where we're in this dire straits position, you play him. So for me, that was the biggest squash, the biggest surprise of the lineup for me. That's what I wanted. I wanted him playing because of all of those reasons there, and you could see that, you know, we hardly got the ball up to Solanke and Richarlison today. So you needed somebody in the middle to drive and to create. And another thing, there's two things as well, right? Atletico, Xavi got kicked up in the air 27 times. He was on the floor, I don't know how many times. Another night where half of his kit was green and brown. Do you know what I mean? Where it was the grass stains all over it. There was the other one, I think it was Slavia Prague, but Atletico was another physical game. So when you go up against physicality, you use it to your advantage, like Amari Hutchinson was trying to do today. He used his stature and he tried to back in and he tried to get free kicks or quick fouls. So you can use it as an advantage as well. And Xavi is just clicked. Do you know what I mean? So you go play him, man. Play him. You needed somebody who had the spark, who could create something from nothing, that had the determination and the will to go, all right, and cool, give it to me. I'll make something happen. So that was the biggest surprise to me, bro.
Terry, what positives would you take from today? And when I say that, I mean player performances, because you seem to be quite complimentary about players in that first half, calling two players great performances. What positives would you take from today's game?
Again, I think the possession, the winning the ball back, the attacking impetus. I understand that we didn't have I understand that we didn't have shots on targets, but they were close. They were close. I mean, looking back at that first half, I thought Tell was especially bright, and I think he's been one of our bright spots over the past few weeks. Clearly, he does make mistakes, and I think there could be some better delivery on his corners. I think some of the corners, the deliveries were quite nice, especially when he's on his right side. So not when he's curling in, but he does a little bit of a slice shot that I think is placed pretty well if it just has a little bit more pace. I think he was really bright. I thought Dancer was great in the first half as well. We're talking about kind of the shots off target. There was one in the 15th minute where there was a clean Richie header that looked like it was going in, and it was just wide of the goal as well. All of those, if we just had a little bit more clinicality, I think we'd have a completely different mood, and it would have been a completely different game if any of those had gone in. So yeah, I do feel like there are positives to take from that first half. I agree with Tudor's assistant that we were very good. I believe that was his words in that first half. The biggest thing that I got from his press conference, though, I think the quote here is the players were in the second half. The players were unable to deal with the weight of the game. Like, that's the biggest worry. Like, going forward, that's the biggest worry. I mean, that's been the case for the past 3, 4, 5 months. Now it's you've got to wonder. I feel like there's enough there to give hope in that something will click and they'll be able to put together a full game and see this through. I think you know that I'm very big on data and analytics, and I think Opta has kind of the best methodology and the best data that they use. So the fact that they've also believed that we're going to get out of this by the skin of our teeth gives me some hope here. But regardless of whether we stay up or go down, regardless of who our coach is, I think we really there needs to be an overhaul. I think we're automatically going to have an overhaul if we move down to the championship. But there are some players here who just don't seem to be able, like you said, to deal with the weight of not just this game, but who seem to be able to deal with the weight of just being a Tottenham player. Even if we stay up, I've got to question some of the character of the team that's there, including Romero, including Van de Ven, including some of our top players that are out there. I really wonder what this squad is going to look like and what it's going to take for us to build a stronger spine. I mean, we've been talking about this for years and years and years. Even when Kane was here, even when Son was here, even in the peak days, we would talk about this soft underbelly of the team and not having a spine in these crucial moments. And no matter who the coach is, whether Levy's here, whether he's not here, no matter who the players are, we seem to have these issues again and again and again and again. And it might just take some kind of reset, yet another reset, yet another rebuild to build a squad of players that we feel can get through these tough times. I mean, I was watching the Sunderland game earlier too. I mean, most of those players, most of our fans will not have heard of many of the players on Sunderland, but you see the togetherness, you see the toughness, that spine. Like, that's what we need at this club. Like, we need to start building up from that type of level. I think we have too many divas on our squad here.
Craig, do you agree with what Terry's just said there? And also when Terry mentions about the data, we know that the club is heavily driven on data, particularly in the transfer windows. Is this why we're in this position?
I think they value data. Look, I'm all for looking at data, and you can look at stats and everything till the cows come home. But ultimately, sometimes you got to use your eyes, and I think the club is guilty of doing that far, far too often. And Thomas Frank was too guilty of it. You know, we could all see certain elements under Thomas Frank where things weren't right, and yet, you know, you're looking at data and analytics. Apparently, you spent a lot of time looking at basically how to stop the opposition rather than what we can do. And I think that's probably what annoyed a lot of Spurs fans, because we've always been of the opinion that, you know, let other sides worry about us a bit. You know, Ange used to be like that, didn't he? Yeah, we lost a lot of games under Ange as well, of course. So it goes deeper than that. Of course it does. But I'm just always a big fan of using your eyes as well and see where the problems are. As for positives to come out of today, I would say it's very little, if I'm brutally honest. I don't really see how you can take many positives out of a 3-0. The only positive I can take is that the fans were massively behind the team before, and we did our bit, the fan base. And sadly, the players didn't. The fans couldn't have done any more today. Yeah, there were times during the game where it sounded a bit flat, but come on, it's so difficult to get up for it and sing and chant when you can't see certain things on the pitch that really, you know, you feed off each other. You feed off each other, and ultimately it just didn't work today. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just so like everybody, I'm just feeling so down and so low about the whole thing at the moment, and it's the worst. I can't remember a worse time being a Tottenham fan. I really can't.
Were the 90s worse than this or better than this, Rick?
Bro, I've had this discussion, and now it's worse. Now it's worse. There's a couple of reasons why. Back in the day, we were always hovering around there. We was always hoping for better, but we was always hovering around there. Lost a lot of games, conceded a lot of goals, kicked ourselves in the backside a lot of times. Had a lot of bad players, had a lot of diamonds in the rough, you know, but you'd have one jewel in there, or, you know, every season. But we were down there for a while, and not much was expected of us. I remember many a time that, you know, I mean, still to this day, but we would never, ever be spoken about in a title race or even in a cup journey. After the FA Cup 91, like, it was very rare that we was ever going to achieve anything or go anywhere. And if we did it, we loved it. You know, there was the Worthington Cup, etc. And we hit Europe a couple of times, you know, but it was never really much to expect. There was a lot of hope, but there wasn't much to expect.
We always had a superstar sort of, Rick, though, a player that would get you off your seat, that you always thought could win us games, like a Ginola or a Klinsmann or a Sheringham or an Anderton or somebody. We haven't even got that now.
No, I'm with you, bro. But
Ricky, let's talk about one positive performance, because And he was also extremely positive and absolutely everywhere the other night on Wednesday, everywhere today as well. And everyone in the crowd, no matter what I heard or what people were saying, everyone was mentioning Archie Gray and his performance on Wednesday, his performance today. I tell you what, if we had 11 Archie Grays on the pitch, we'd have won that game today.
No, agreed there, bruv. I agree with you there. Archie's been phenomenal, man. I think we've really seen the emergence of him. And, you know, last year he was forged in fire. This year he was forged in hell. And you're seeing him stand up, and the spark from anybody has come from him. But just to finish why this is worse, it's because we just won a European trophy. This was the moment of change. Levy's gone, and them lot down the road, they might end up lifting the Premier League as well. So it is worse, bro. This is the worst it's ever been. It's got too many factors in it. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, before we was hovering, but now after achieving something, after getting that weight off of our back about winning trophies, we've got it. We're back in the Champions League. There's a sea of change. No Levy, board's changing, everything's changing. We've got this new manager that's going to come in. He improves players. He uses the youth. He can take somebody you've never heard of and turn them into superstars. He's got a plan for every occasion. Sets up his subs before he makes them. He's got, different zones, differentness, different tactics. He's going to take us to the next level. And this is where we are. This is where we are.
I have to tell you guys, I have to tell you, just as a newer fan compared to the three of you and most of the people who are listening, it's pretty jarring to hear that this is the worst it's been in your Tottenham lifetime. That's a lot to take.
It is, bro. It is. Even for me, man.
Do you know what I'm glad about? I'm glad that we don't have to record another podcast for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. We all need a break right now.
Yeah. If you guys don't mind, we won't go through every match incident. We'll just go straight to talking about the goals. Terry, let's come to you. Let's talk about Forest's first goal. It was just before the halftime break. Do you want to talk us through it? Because straight after this, there were boos at halftime, but there weren't boos for the players. It was actually for the match officials. What do you make of this goal that we conceded just before the halftime break through Igor Jesus?
I mean, it's heartbreaking because really it was against the run of play. Nottingham Forest hadn't had much possession on our side for quite a while, and it was the first corner that led to that second corner. So the first corner, it got headed out, and then Igor Jesus kind of swiped at it, and then Vicario actually made a really nice save to save it. But that led to the second corner. And what's frustrating about the second corner was that the delivery was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, and just went right over all the Tottenham players' heads. And it looked like Igor Jesus didn't even have to jump for the header. He just kind of comfortably, he just took a couple of steps back and just comfortably headed in right there. And for that to come on the back of those 8 corners that we had, none of which really came close and none of which looked that threatening, was just such a contrast and just so frustrating for it to come right before the end of the half and to see that just suck the entire life out of not just the players, not just the game, but now it seems like this seems to suck the life out of the season. Just the worst possible moment, the worst possible circumstance. And again, just against the run of play, which makes it even worse.
Do you know? Can I just jump in there? You know what annoys me, and perhaps this is me being old, right? But modern football, I've never liked 2 things. I've never liked zonal marking. I hate it. And I never like this new thing now that most teams do. You don't put a man on each post because you'd have stopped a couple of goals. You'd possibly even stop that today by having a man on a post. And I just don't understand it. Zonal marking. I just think it confuses you if it comes in your zone. How big do you know your zone is, for example? Just what's so hard about just picking up a red shirt, staying with him, and stopping him heading the ball? As Terry said there, it was almost a free header. And he's still got work to do, and it weren't Vicario's fault. It just went straight across. But having a man on the post might have cut it out. I don't know. I just think there's so much wrong. There's so much wrong. You could see this was going to happen. You could see what was going to happen. All that possession, the chances created, even though they weren't gilt-edged, and they were always going to score before the half. You could have written it.
Craig, just before the halftime break, there was a penalty check, went to VAR. Can you talk us through that?
We were talking about it sitting here, and we were the opinion that if it was against Spurs, it would have probably been given. And of course, because it was for us, it wasn't. And there's certainly an element of, that they're against Spurs. I'm not sure that's the case. I think it was probably one of those that you've seen given occasionally, but they probably just wasn't enough for me. Just with me neutral's head on. Some people would say it was a foul, and I take your opinion, fine. But just for me, I don't think it was. There just wasn't quite enough in it. I think if it was given against us, we'd be absolutely fuming.
Ricky, how surprised were you when you went back to your seat at half-time that Spence and Van der Ven had been taken off and Bergvall and Udogie came on?
Massively, bro, because I just didn't think they were quite ready. I'm happy that they're back, but I just didn't think that they're quite ready yet. For me, they would have been impact subs on about 60, to try and get something else out of the game rather than starting them on the half. I was surprised, bro. And I was just surprised that Xavi wasn't the one coming onto the field at that point as well. So, it is what the thing is, you know what it is? Craig's right. You could feel this happening because there was a corner just before. So this corner was the result of the previous corner that we put out and I could feel it. I could feel it in the ground. I could feel it through my toes that this particular corner was going to be the one that they scored at. It was just gaps galore. It's just too easy, bro. It's just way too easy.
Is it not an admission from the manager, though, Ricky, that when you change two players like that, particularly at half-time, and like Bruno Salter said there, that it was tactical, taking the likes of Spence and Van der Ven off? Did he get his personnel choices right in terms of the starting 11? I know we've touched on it already, but, formation, setup, structure, personnel, were you surprised that was changed at half-time?
Not for me. Look, you can arguably say that the back four has been working-ish. We've looked a bit better with the back four. But then it was this hybrid back three that went into a four. You could look at Mickey and arguably, not that I think this, but you could look at Mickey and Spence and go, well, you played midweek, maybe, let's take you off and get some youth and energy in there, in your Doggy and Bergie. But it just didn't come, mate. They're off it. They're not on it right now. They're not ready right now. You've got to kind of feed them into the game, and that's why it would have made more sense for me on 60 to make something like that happen. So, but there's many a time that we've looked at a side and just gone, what's happening here? And look, some of it has been down to injury, we know, but I don't know. For me, a 4-2-3-1 makes everybody happy. And we haven't seen that in ages. Do you know what I mean? It puts everybody in their right positions. You've got left, right, a number 10, a striker. But I think I think he's just clinging at straws, mate. I think he's throwing everything at it. And I think he must have felt that the air come out of the balloon at half time. And he's gone, all right, cool. Let me throw two young ones on that want to give something, and hopefully their kind of youth where they play without fear, they can just go at it and make something happen. But it didn't really come off.
Ricky, sorry.
Am I the only one who thought Van der Ven had a good first half? I mean,
I thought he was doing good at it.
I thought he tracked back on a couple of the forced breakaways. He didn't have a lot of marauding runs, but he did have a couple. It's not his natural position I mean, I don't think we would have allowed that second, maybe even the third goal if Van de Ven had still been on the field at that point. I feel like it was a huge mistake. I
Yeah.
was curious about what Salter said. He said we wanted more dynamic, more legs, and that's why he's subbed Van de Ven. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you want legs and dynamicism, like who else? Who's better than Mickey Van de Ven? I thought that was a weird statement. So it's I thought he was, again. I think a lot of players were great in that first half. I think Van de Ven was one of them. I think he was really good.
I honestly thought he was going to go 3 at the back when I heard he was coming off.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. When I heard a doggy was coming on, because I didn't hear Van de Ven was going off, I heard a doggy was coming on first. I thought I was going to go 3 at the back and put a doggy left wing back and have perhaps Porro right wing back and take Spence off. But yeah, it didn't make sense, that one.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me at all at half time. And like you said there, Terry, Bruno Salter coming out with what he did, that doesn't make sense to me either. Terry, let's stay with you. On 62 minutes, Morgan Gibbs-White, of all people, scored Forest's second goal. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, like I said before, I think it encapsulates our season right here. I think it was it Aina who made the run? Who's making that run there? Like who made the assist? But you can see kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like maybe you can count 6 players just in Morgan Gibbs-White's vicinity. I mean, and he's right in front of the goal. I mean, it's just embarrassing defending. It's just it's not only is it not closing down, I think just mentally it feels like people are just shut off and they're kind of looking at each other to say, someone get this guy, someone get him. Like this is the picture that I'd seen before. Those 5 guys and no one's. I mean, it looks like he has some kind of invisible shield around him, which is embarrassing. And it's like you can't miss that. I mean, Vicario, I feel like made a pretty valiant effort he almost saved it because it came near him and under him. But that really just encapsulates our season right there. And like I said before, it's just what's more frustrating is we didn't see this type of mental breakdown. We saw more closing of attackers in that first half, but they seemed to completely shut off in that second half, and this just killed everything. It's like I don't know, Ricky. I don't know if you left after this goal, but I want to blame you because it was just our team just giving up at this point. Well,
Craig, can I come to you on this? Because the picture on screen now, it looks like Morgan Gibbs-White has got so much time, and it was Callum Hudson-Odoi who got the assist, Terry.
Yeah.
But Craig, when you look at this, so much time, so much space, it just looks so easy. And one thing for me, and I go back to this again with Igor Tudor coming in, a team like Spurs who, were getting beaten, quite easily under Thomas Frank, and we weren't getting results and we were slipping down that league table, hence why we're in the position that we are. A new manager coming in, surely their first job has to be make us defensively tighter, don't concede goals, and be difficult to beat, and have that physicality, like I said earlier. This just seems so easy to me, particularly playing a team that is down there with us.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I agree 100%. And you saying that Morgan Gibbs-White was probably laughing and joking with his mates on the bench. I've played in games where you come off saying, "Oh, that was so easy," and that's what he would have been saying 100%. Because look at that picture on screen. Apologies for listeners on audio. He's obviously just held his run. That's all he's done. Sometimes, Lionel Messi made a career out of it. Just standing still is the best thing you can do sometimes. Probably their best player is standing on the penalty spot with hardly anybody around him with a free shot. He could have actually took a touch. And surely somebody must have been seeing him. To be honest with you, it was shocking, and we've seen it far too many times this season. I agree. I mean, actually, I think Vicario will probably be gutted he didn't get more on it, to be honest, because it was straight in the middle of the goal.
Yeah.
So I'm not blaming Vicario for that one, but it was just so easy for Forest all afternoon. It was almost like they just picked their moments, just clinical. They were clinical at the right times. And our defending, we're saying we've got a World Cup winner in Romero. All right, Mickey van der Ven wasn't on the pitch at the time, but Mickey van der Ven, I've heard people describe him as a Rolls Royce of a defender, who doggy decent left back. People call him for Spence to be England's right back. Pedro Porro in the Spain team. These aren't bad players, but are they being coached badly over and over again? I still think in an in-game situation like that, I wouldn't even put that on the manager. That's players' responsibility to pick up players. If you're a defender, that's your job. Your job is to pick up forward players, and whoever it is organising them, should it be Romero as the captain? Should the players take the responsibility? I think it's a bit of both. Come on. That's Morgan Gibbs-White standing in the middle of your goal on the penalty spot with nobody around him, and he has a free shot. Shocking.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm not putting this all on Igor Tudor if it sounds that way. I'm certainly not putting it all on him because, like you said, show some responsibility. And, all of these players are internationals for top countries, by the way, in Europe. And, they need to do a lot more. But that picture, I just think, is absolutely shocking how much time and space that he has got, particularly a player that we tried to sign, a top quality player in the Premier League. Now, 5 minutes later, Telm Richarlison came off, Mawani and Javi Simmons came on. And the guy right behind me, who actually watches the podcast on a regular basis, I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but he actually said, shouting just before they scored this second goal, he was shouting, Igor Tudor, come on, don't wait for them to go 2-0 up before you put Javi Simmons on. And it's exactly what happened. 5 minutes later, after going 2-0 down, Javi Simmons comes on. I think the crowd were getting quite excited at that point, thinking that we're going to see a little bit of flair. Ricky, what did you make of it? Making that change with Javi and Mawani coming on, because we certainly needed that little bit more creativity on the pitch. But sadly, it didn't work out. What did you make of the changes and the subs that Igor Tudor made today?
I agree with the guy that was sitting behind you. It should have happened way earlier. And the fact that it kind of got to this point before you brought him on, it's almost typical right now. It wasn't after this. I stayed until 81 and I was boiling so much. I absolutely hate leaving. I really do. I can't stand it. I hate it in myself. Like I said, the first time that it ever happened was Teddy's, and I wanted to see him walk around the pitch at the end and say goodbye, but I was just boiling and fuming. And when I'm in that mood, I've got to be by myself. Do you know what I mean? I've got to be, I don't want to talk to nobody. So, yeah, man, we needed to see a response. We needed to see something happening, and bringing on those two, would have helped. But why wait until 2-0 down? They should have been on earlier, like the gentleman behind you said, my friend.
Yep. Terry, finally, Forest went 3-0 up after 87 minutes. Do you want to talk us through this one?
I was so fuming at this point. Again, I forgot who kicked that cross into Awani. I thought Danso had a really good game. Awani was just able to get past him. The cross in was absolutely beautiful. Again, he had a lot of time for that cross to make that beautiful cross, and it was just a heartbreaker. I mean, you see how close Danso is right there, but it was a pinpoint delivery, and impossible for Awani to miss from there. Again, there seemed to be just a lot of finger pointing, a lot of people looking at each other, saying what happened there. It felt like the team had just kind of shut off at that point. Like what you were just saying about the subs there, I can't help but wonder if the subs had been flipped and it had been Xavi and Colomwani coming on at halftime, and then Van de Ven and Spence coming off later in that game. I wonder what that would have done with the game. It feels like it would probably have been a bit different and probably would have given us a bit more of a chance there. But should have, would have, could have. It's all clear in hindsight, isn't it? So.
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually Williams who got the assist. It was his second of the game, actually. He also put the cross in for Igor Jesus for the first goal as well.
Yeah.
Right, finally, I'm going to call this section the good, the bad, the ugly. So, Craig, final thoughts on anything that we haven't covered today? Anything you want to get off your chest before we go? I think it's a little bit premature to be talking about the Sunderland game because we could have players back. We could have the likes of Mohamed Kudus come back. Even Igor Tudor come out and said that he hopes that the medical team will provide a couple of surprises. You know, a couple of players could be back for that Sunderland game. But as you've also mentioned, Kinski will be involved for the Sunderland game. What's funny?
I just think the medical team could produce a couple of surprises. What they could dress up as clowns. Hello, I just like fucking hell. Well, Igor might not be in charge because there are, you know, there's a few rumours out there that he's going to be gone. Sorry, what was the question, Chris? Was there an actual question?
There was an actual question. It was, do you want to get anything else off your chest that we haven't spoken about?
Yeah.
You know, give us some good, give us some bad, give us the ugly, give us what you want. Or say goodbye.
Well, firstly, on good news, let me thank everybody for your overwhelming support for me and Chris doing the
that's the ugly.
That's the ugly thing. The hellish thing we did during the week, jumping off the Spurs stadium. Although now I wish I wasn't attached to a rope at the time. It would be amiss of me to say that I actually enjoyed it, and the fact that we were dilly-dallying up top probably made it worse. But you know, it's a scary thing. It really is a scary thing, especially if you're scared of heights. Chris is, I think it won't mind me saying that, a little bit worse than me. But Chris actually decided before me he was going to go for it and just went for it. Whereas I just needed a minute to compose myself. And I think by the time I actually got strapped in and was over the edge, he was down filming. So that's how quick he went down. I think it was the fastest descent ever. So look, it was good fun. But the main thing about the whole day was raising the money for the charity. So thanks to everybody that's donated. You can still donate. All the links are on Chris's social media. Go and watch the video that's on the channel. I'm sure you'll have a good laugh. And all your comments were making me laugh as well. But it was really good to have everybody's support for that. We did have a really good day. Learned some CPR as well, which was really good. So had lovely weather, and we was looking forward to today's game. And that's when it kind of all went downhill. So thanks very much for everybody for that. We even got to have a picture and a little video in front of the plant pot we were stood in 6-7 months ago when we was all in a much better and happier place. So that was the bad, I suppose. The good, it'd be good to get.
Hold on. Let me just have a little word on that, because the amount of people that have stopped me today and said, "Oh, Craig and you and Craig were really brave and well done for doing it and all that." The amount of people who actually said to me, "We thought that it was really funny that Craig said, oh, I was going to tell Sally that I've done it anyway."
Yeah, she did laugh about that. She said, "Do you not think I'd have seen the video? I want video evidence." So it was like, I wouldn't have got away with it. I think it was fair to say we were both always going to do it. But it's just getting to that point. No, we weren't. I tried a bit of a reverse psychology. We had everything going on, standing up there in the wind, trying to get each other to jump. But we did it in the end. That's the main thing. This good news about players coming back. We've said this for weeks, haven't we? You know, all Doggy's coming back, all Bergval's coming back or whatever. And we just lost 3-0. It's just like, oh my God. So look, I think Kudus coming back could be a big thing, because he brings something slightly different that we haven't got. So let's hope we can get Kudus back. I think Bentancur could bring something as well himself. He's had a bit of stick, I know, before he got injured. People saying he wasn't playing brilliantly. I don't think he was utilised well under Thomas Frank, if I'm honest. Would he do any better under Tudor? I simply don't know. But that can only be a good thing, getting players back. And the ugly, well, if that was the ugly, I don't know. I haven't got another thing for you, Chris, but yeah, just thanks for everyone's support with the charity. Let's hope we can pick up. I don't, at the moment, if you're asking me about Sunderland, I know it's very early, it's 3 weeks away. I just hope they can sort something out. If they're going to get a new manager in, get a new manager in and last roll of the dice, because at the moment, I agree with Ricky. I think we're going to be playing our football in the Championship next season. They've got to do something. I think they've got to do something. The more I think about it, I think they've got to do something, because if they don't, I think we're going down. Because West Ham, I think they're going to get 2 wins. And as you say, Chris, the pressure's really going to be on. If they beat Wolves, then we've got to beat Sunderland. I don't think we're getting anything at the Stadium of Light, to be honest with you. So, look, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. 7 games to go. 7 games. 21 points on offer.
That's something that's really bothered me today, because when we spoke about this on previous podcasts, about the likes of West Ham, the likes of Leeds, Nottingham Forest, and so on, having so much fight and desire, where we haven't seen that from this Spurs side in recent weeks. To see it firsthand, we've seen it on the TV, we've seen the results, we've seen their performances or the highlights of match of the day, etc. But to actually see it at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium today, where they've turned us over 3-0, honestly, really worrying and terrifying times. Will probably give us sleepless nights over the next 3 weeks before we play away at Sunderland. And like you said there, Craig, we've got to give more, and we've got to have a decent performance, and most importantly, get the 3 points. Ricky, the floor is open. Say whatever you like, or say goodbye, whatever you wish.
Wowza. I'll say, I've said it on here before, but I'll say this again, that those that were shouting for Enoch out years ago, and I hold my hands up, man. You guys called it early. You saw it early. You called it early. Me personally, I'm a guy that I always I have to see life in a positive light, and I will always look to the good things rather than the bad, and especially when it comes down to Tottenham. So I've tried to do that over the years, but you guys definitely called it right, because, all of what Craig said today about the board and decisions and what's happened, it has creeped up until this point where we're at now. The good is the fans that come together regardless. When we say win, lose or draw, come on you Spurs, you can see it. So the good is definitely the fans, and the fact that we'll still be here in this league or another. We will still be here. This is our club. This is our team. We're going to cheer them on. We're stuck with them. There ain't no loans. There ain't no transfers. So whatever may be will be. But yeah, that fan base today I thought was phenomenal. And I suppose another good thing is that we haven't got football for 3 weeks. So everyone's got a 3-week break. Like you say, so hopefully some players come back. The bad thing is that in 3 weeks' time, we've got another game. And the ugly is probably the football that we're going to play. So I don't know. All I've got left is prayers at this point that things will change. There's not much else, and it really did. That midweek game, Atletico, really did rip the heart out of me, because I saw so much for the first time in months, and I was so kind of enthused by it that I was like, well, this is it. And then today, for what everybody done, even when I was walking up the high road, I saw the ticker tape on that, and it reminded me of 9-10 months ago. And I'm like, oh, come on, it has to. You have to. Yeah, it has to. And, for all of those fans out there that have got to hold the ridicule until the end of this season, and especially this next 3 weeks or so. Well, man, I've got love for you. Keep your heads high, keep your chins high. And hopefully there'll be brighter days ahead, man.
Ricky, when can you drink again?
April 3rd. April 3rd.
Let's get a date in the diary. Let's have a meet.
Please. Can I tell you a quick, right? Where was I? I was out somewhere. Oh, okay. So last week I went out. It was my director friend of mine's wedding anniversary. Anyway, standing at the bar. I'm buying a drink for her and one of her sons, who's 18. And as I'm standing here, this is how long I've had no alcohol. As I'm standing there, the bar ladies like poured tequila and crushed lime, and I could literally smell every follicle and every particle of this. And I was like, wow, I am missing this, boy. I am missing this. But it's all for, good things. So it's all right, man. April 3rd, please, let's get a date in the diary. Let's all get together. And somebody better be carrying me home or putting me in an Uber to get back, because I'm going to need it, let me tell you.
Yep, we need a night out.
Bloody.
Terry, finally with you, anything that we haven't covered today that you'd like to talk about?
No, I just wanted to say thank you again for having me on. It's in terms of the ugly, it's so funny how we're talking about these 3 weeks. I think we all use Tottenham, and I mean people just in general use sports as a way as a release and escape from everyday life. And right now, I think everyday life is a release and an escape from Tottenham, really. So that's how I'm going to look the next 3 weeks here. In terms of positivity, I feel like I need to take up the mantle of positivity for this pod here. Like I think you guys know that. I mean, I was a big fan of this show before I started contributing to it, and a large part of the reason why was because I always said that Ricky always found a way to find a silver lining, even during those dark times. And like I haven't been on much the past few months, but I've certainly watched every show, and like seeing no positivity from Ricky and hearing that from all of you guys that we think we're going to go down. I feel like I need to to provide some positivity there. I'm going to remind everyone that Opta, that same supercomputer, predicted for months and months that we were the favorites to win the Europa League, and that came true. So I will hold on to that, and I'll hold on to us finishing 17th, which seems like sunshine and glory at this point. But thank you all for kind of listening through this. Thank you, Chris, for hosting again. Let's keep up the hope, boys, please.
Terry,
Terry.
Can I ask you a final question? Regardless of what happens in this Premier League season from now until the end of the campaign, who would you like to see? If you could choose the manager to be in charge for next year, who would it be?
For next year? I'm not sure. I'm going to be in the minority in that I'm not convinced of Pochettino. I think Pochettino's been our best manager, and he's a large part of the reason why I'm a Tottenham fan today. I'm not convinced on the second time around. I'm not convinced on the Zerbi. I don't know. It's a whole confluence of not just the manager, but the management team, the directors, and the players, and what that combination is going to be. And there's so much that's messed up at all levels here that I don't think one manager, whoever that is going to be the solution. It's going to have to be some kind of solution amongst all three parts of the organization here. So I can't say that there's a correct solution at this point. I don't see it being Pochettino. If he were named the manager, I would be excited. I'd be happy going forward. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, Terry, and I've said this a lot over the last couple of weeks, that if the football club don't change the way that they do things, then we are literally just going to keep going around in circles. The transfer window needs to be better. Decision making needs to be better. Operational, we need to be a lot better. So yeah, a lot needs to change. But Terry, thank you as always for joining us. Always great to have you on. Craig, thank you so much for coming back. Where can people find you if they want to?
And Dearman9 on X, if you want to give me a follow, that would be great. If you're asking me, I think Pochettino, regardless of what division we're in, I think he'd be the right man. I think he's managed in the Championship before, has he? Did he manage Southampton in the Championship? I can't remember. Possibly. So he might have experience of it. So he might be. I might be completely wrong with that. He might be only in the Premiership. I don't know.
Right, please, let's stop talking about the Championship. Please.
I was gonna. Come on, I'm trying to end on a positive here. I'm just saying where can people find you on social media? And no, I didn't ask you.
I'll end on a positive. It's the Masters in a couple of weeks, so that'll take my mind off football. So looking forward to that.
Ricky, as always, thank you so much for joining us. We'll sort out that date in the diary very, very soon. Where can people find you? What you're up to?
You guys know where you can find me at Ricky J Norwood on X, aka Twitter, official Ricky Norwood on Instagram, and Tea Talk and Tottenham, all one word, in YouTube for the latest episode of Tea Talk and Talk with my boy Darren Hartman. Do you know what, Terry? You know, you inspired me with a little bit of positivity, and so you've given me a little bit. So I'll give a little bit back. It only takes a game to change it. If you look at the last 4 or 5 days and how pumped up we were to go into this game, it was because we saw a response from the boys, and the boys put an effort forward, and we saw something that we could back. That's what needs to happen again. It's not about the fans getting behind, and they will. I'm not saying don't, but it's not about the fans getting behind the boys. It's about the boys giving us something to cheer about. Because you do that, and the whole fan base will be behind you. You give us something to cling to, and to pick you up and to cheer about, and we'll take care of the rest. But it's up to them now. It's up to them. It's all in their hands. It's all in their power, whether they concede or whether they push forward or whether they keep moving forward. It's up to them right now. So, boys, at the club, every single one that gets to start that next game, you give us something, and we'll carry the rest of the way. We will carry you the rest of the way, but you've got to show us something first. You show us it, and we're behind you all day long, and it's still in your hands. So, what do you want to be? Do you want to be fighters, or do you want to be knocked out? It's up to you.
Ricky,
spot on, brother. Spot on.
Ricky,
Listen,
Ricky, you were also invited to do this abseil at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but you chose
Chris,
not to.
you're cutting out, you know.
Can I ask you a question here? If Spurs stay in the Premier League, are you up for it?
My battery.
He did this the other week.
I said yes. Brilliant. Well, what a way to end.
I cut.
That's a no then.
No, we'll do it. I'm sure. Right.
I bet you don't.
Terry, thank you so much. I know I always say this, and I've said it a lot this season. It's so difficult to record these podcasts after these results, after these performances. But I tell you what, I'm sitting here. I think it was you, Ricky, said about, praying. We're literally praying now for, a good performance, a good result. Our first Premier League win of 2026. Let's hope it comes in the very, very near future, but it won't come in the next 3 weeks because we're not playing. But these remaining games, these players have got to give more. This manager has to get more out of these players. And whatever happens, the board need to do so much in the summer to turn this football club around so we're not in this position again. We finished 17th last year in the Premier League. Yes, we won a trophy. That was fantastic. But we're 17th again with no trophies being won this season. What a position to be in. We should never be here, and we should never be here again. Next season needs to be a lot better. But thank you so much for staying with us. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks, as always, for all of your support. Craig, Ricky, Terry, thank you so much. And we will all see you again soon. Stay safe and well, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
you Spurs.